Rain City, Redemption. In the perpetually rain-soaked port harbor, the night was punctuated by flashing police lights as Detective Gabriel Gabe Winter stood over another body, the third victim, this month. The rain hammered down relentlessly, soaking through his weathered trench coat as he knelt beside the tarp-covered corpse. Next to him, Officer Riley Sinclair tried to maintain her composure, but her eyes betrayed her shock at the ritualistic positioning of the body. Sam Pattern is the others, the medical examiner confirmed, zipping up his bag of tools. Deliberate cutting marks arranged in that same ceremonial way. Gab nodded grimly. In his 20 years with Port Harbor PD, he'd seen his share of horrors, but these killings were different, methodical, precise, and somehow familiar in a way that gnawed at him. Riley, only 6 months out of the academy, was learning quickly. She noticed something the others had missed. "This victim is different from the others," she said, as they drove back to the precinct through sheets of rain. "The first two were Mency. This one's a woman." "Good catch," Gabe replied, his voice like gravel. "There's something else connecting them. Something we're not seeing yet." Back at the precinct, the ancient heating system groaned as they spread crime scene photos across Gabe's cluttered desk. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly glow. Coffee, cup, littered, the desk Riley's still full. Gabe's already emptied and refilled with whiskey from the bottom drawer. All 3 victims worked at the port, Riley noted, arranging the victims' employment records side by side. Gabe stared at the wall, then pulled an old photo from his wallet himself, 15 years younger, standing with a group of officers. He pinned it to the corkboard among the crime scene photos. "This isn't just about the port," he said quietly. "It's about Operation Arbor Light." Riley looked up from her notes. Arbor Light? 15 years ago, biggest corruption sting in city history. We were going after the smuggling rings, the payoff, all of it. Ab's finger jabbed at the photo. 5 cops died the night of the raid. Key witnesses disappeared. And Maxwell Reid walked away, clean soon. Maxwell Reid, the real estate developer? He's on the city council now. The same? Gabe confirmed bitterly. Some people get away with murder. They just wear better suits. By dawn, they had requisitioned the old Harbor Light files from the evidence lockup, dusty boxes that hadn't been touched in over a decade. As they sifted through faded reports and photographs, connections began to emerge that sent chills down Gabe's spine. The first victim, James Archer, Riley Reid, worked as security at Ride's warehouses during Harbor Light. And victim number 2, Carlos Mendez, Gabe added, was a dock worker who testified against Reid, then mysteriously recanted. Riley held up a photo of the third victim, a woman whose face had been violently disfigured post-mortem, and her. Gabe's hands trembled slightly as he took the photo. Shannon Reeves, my informant. She disappeared the night the raid went bad. I always thought Red had her killed, but she's been alive all this time. In Port Harbor? Hiding in plain sight, Gabe murmured. Until now. That afternoon, they drove to the waterfront, where Ride's massive development project was transforming the old port into luxury high-rise. Banners proclaimed Ride Waterfront, the future of our city over, a landscape of cranes and half-built towers. The rain had momentarily subsided, but dark clouds promised more to come. Ride's office occupied the top floor of of the only completed building, a glass and steel monument to his power. He greeted them with the practiced smile of a politician, but his eyes remained cold. Detective Winter, he said smoothly. It's been years, and you've brought a new partner. Officer Sinclair. Riley introduced herself, meeting his gaze steadily. What brings you to my empire? Admiring the view? Gab dropped transin photo arts, immaculate desk. 3 murders, all connected to Harbor Light. Raid barely glanced at the photos. Ancien history detective. Not for the killer. A thin smile spread across Wright's face. Perhaps someone is seeking justice their own way. Sometimes the system fails, doesn't it? Like it failed 15 years ago? Abe pressed. Wright stood, signaling the end of the meeting. I believe we're finished here. Security will show you out. That night, as the rain returned with renewed fury, Gabe and Riley broke into an abandoned warehouse in the Old Port District. Despite its outward appearance of abandonment, the electronic lock on the rusted door suggested otherwise. Raid kept records of everything, Gabe explained, as they navigated the darkness with flashlights. Assurance, he called it. Inside, they discovered rows of filing cabinet meticulously maintained. Riley pulled folders containing documented payoff, blackmail material, and evidence of the corruption that had infested Port Harbor for decades. It's all here, she whispered in disbelief. Everything needed to bring Red down. Gabe found a particular file, opening it with shaking hand. The list of cops on Red's payroll. Before he could read the names, flashlight beams appeared at the far end of the warehouse. A gunshot echoed off metal walls. Gabe and Riley took cover, returning fire. 2 attackers went down, but a third figure emerged from the shadows behind Gabe. Watch out, Riley shouted. Fearing a single shot, the figure crumpled to the floor. As Gabe turned, his flashlight illuminated the face of the fallen man. Captain, he gasped. Captain Myers, Gabe's superior officer for the past decade, lay bleeding from Riley's shot. His eyes, full of anger and resignation, locked onto Gabe's. You never could leave it alone, could you? Myers coughed, blood flecking his lips. You killed them, Gabe said, the terrible truth dawning. Your own informants. They were going to talk, Myers wheezed, about all of us. The money, the deals. Riley looked between them, confused. All of you? He wasn't working for Red, Gabe realized aloud. He was keeping Red's secrets, and his own. Myers' breathing grew labored. Raid going down tomorrow. Fédéral indictment. Punidictement. I couldn't let the past surface. His eyes drifted closed as sirens wailed in the distance. The next morning, the rain finally stopped. Sunlight broke through clouds for the first time in weeks as news van gathered outside the police precinct. Headlines screamed councilman raid, arrested and police corruption scandal reopened. From the precinct steps, Gabe watched as Reed was led away in handcuffs, the developer's empire crumbling around. Riley approached, 2 cups of coffee in hand. Captain Myers dead, en route to the hospital, she said, offering Gabe one of the cups. He nodded slowly. Some ghost don't rest until the truth comes out. What happens now? Gabe looked at the sunrise painting the city in golden light. The air smelled clean for the first time in memory. Now we keep going, he said, taking the coffee. There's always another case. Always more ghosts. Together, they walked back into the precinct, ready for whatever darkness the newly cleansed city might still harbor. What do you